Is a ketogenic diet right for you? And what is the point of view of Ayurveda? If we're meeting for the first time, hello, my name is Laure. I am an Ayurvedic diet and lifestyle consultant, and I help women have a healthier relationship with foods and their bodies and lose weight sustainably and permanently by shifting from a restrictive diet approach to a health and balance approach. And today's subject is about the ketogenic diet. I'm really excited to talk about this because I've had a lot of women approach me and ask me what I thought, or what Ayurveda more specifically thought about the ketogenic diet, especially since it's becoming very popular. So I did some research, and based on what I found, I decided that I was going to share Ayurveda's point of view. So what is a ketogenic diet? A ketogenic diet is mainly a high-fat, low-carbohydrates diet. So it's usually between 80 to 90% fat, and it's a very restrictive carbohydrates, very restrictive amounts of carbohydrates. It was devised in the 1920s for epilepsy. So a ketogenic diet is actually an epilepsy diet. It's not a way of life diet, and it's very important to understand that from the get-go. And so what's the science behind it? Now, you may or may not know that our bodies, our physiology, get its source of energy from carbohydrates and in the form of glucose. And unused glucose is stored as fat, specifically in the liver. So the idea behind the ketogenic diet is to use the fat storage as well as the fat that you get in through food as the main source of energy. And it has great benefits to do that. So I'm going to read you some of the benefits that you get from doing exactly that. So for example, fatty acids, so fats in the form of ketones, are the main source of cellular energy production. And they can easily cross the blood-brain barrier and therefore be a powerful fuel supply for the brain and the nervous system. Other benefits of a high-fat diet is that it's effective against cancer because the high fat and the low carbohydrates starve the cancer cells of sugar, basically. It also reduces inflammation, boosts memory, and other different benefits. However, and it's a big however, I know it sounds like a great idea, and most diets actually sound like a great idea in theory, but in application, this is when we need to be very, very careful, because most of those benefits have been found short terms. And if it is something that you've heard me talk about for a long time in terms of diets may work short term, but don't work long term. They're not sustainable long term, and some of them could actually be dangerous. Okay, so long-term use of a ketogenic diet, which is a diet that was devised for people suffering from epilepsy, are arterial stiffness. So arterial stiffness is not good news for people already suffering from cardiovascular symptoms, issues, and problems, right? Other aspects of that, other challenges of a long-term use of a ketogenic or high-fat diet: dehydration, gastrointestinal issues, gastritis, osteopenia, meaning the loss of 50% of bone density, renal stones. So again, like most restrictive diets, long-term can have some side effects and are not necessarily sustainable, and definitely not permanent. Another aspect of a ketogenic diet is that long-term it causes ketogenesis. And to explain ketogenesis, it's actually what happens for people who are suffering from diabetes mellitus. So it's a production of ketone bodies that create diabetes, ultimately can create diabetes mellitus. So you want to be aware of that. And so I've asked myself, what is the culture in the world that has a high-fat diet? So most of you may know about the Inuit people, right? And yes, they do have a high-fat diet because nothing else grows around them. However, what most people don't know, at least I didn't know when I looked into that, is that over thousands of years, the Inuit people have developed a gene to prevent the appearance or the experience of ketogenesis. So even the culture in the world who eats a high-fat diet as part of their way of life, the body has created a gene to protect them, a gene that you and I do not have, right? Okay, so then I found an amazing article from Dr. John Douillard, who explained that really a ketogenic diet is really a starvation diet. So let me explain what he means by that. When we as humans were still gatherers and hunters, there were times in the year where naturally our bodies went into starvation. And usually it was during the springtime, after a long winter when there was not much nuts and seeds and fruits to find around to gather, right? And so what that means is that during that time when not much nutrients-dense foods were available, the body used its fat stores as a source of energy, as a source of glucose, right? However, the only time today in our modern society where we may experience a starvation diet, so to speak, is when we fast. And oftentimes you see this in different cultures. The springtime is the time for fasting. You have Lent, you have Ramadan, and other fasting experiences in the springtime. So I ask myself, what can you and I do to get the same benefits from a short-term ketogenic or high-fat diet without having to fast for months, right? And so I realize, and actually Ayurveda helped me realize, that our bodies do this naturally when we respect certain food habits. So as you know, Ayurveda is a whole lot more about food habits than food choices, than the types of foods that we eat. Because basically, we all are completely unique. And one food may be great for us, and for another person, it may be poison. And so we need to, Ayurveda takes into account our unique individual constitution, right? So that means that it focuses more on understanding how the body functions and then establishing, implementing into our lifestyle habits around food that supports the function of our bodies. So how can we get the benefits of a ketogenic diet without doing a ketogenic diet, without, especially long term, when we want to experience health, weight loss, and balance long term? The first tip is to leave between 3 and 4 hours between each meal, because around the third hour, when our blood sugar levels comes down after the body or the pancreas has secreted insulin, the body will reach into its fat reserve and the liver will begin to release fat in order to bring the blood sugar levels back up. So if we wait, and this is something I suggest to my clients, to wait at least 4 hours between each meal, before they eat the next meal. Now, I want to put a parenthesis here, a caution. I want to say a caution note, so to speak, because I have met many women who are also experiencing other symptoms on their way to losing weight. And so one caution here is for women who are experiencing or struggling with insulin-dependent diabetes. I encourage you to not only have a medical doctor, but also have a specialized nutritionist that can guide you so that you do not experience challenges or worse health states by only eating 3 to 4 hours between leaving 3 to 4 hours between each meal. So I'm closing the parenthesis, and I just wanted to make sure that you understand that these foods habits apply for people who are healthy and are not experiencing certain serious health symptoms, right? The second tip that around the food habit that our bodies are already naturally doing is to stop eating after 6 p.m., right? To have dinner and then no longer eating after 6 p.m. Because what happens at that time is that, again, the body will reach into its fat storage. So the liver will release fat as glucose, as a source of energy when we're no longer eating, when we leave that time between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. the next morning. And this is called intermittent fasting. And if we go to bed early enough, it can be quite easy to do. And you will experience the benefits of that quite quickly, not just in terms of weight loss, but in terms also of energy and sleep, having a healthier sleep and more energy. And then the third tip is what we call in Ayurveda eating until 75% full. So basically eat less so that the body will reach out into its fat stores or fat storage to increase the blood sugar levels. So I hope that this helps you understand that a ketogenic diet, like most restrictive diets, are really specialized and they can work short term. But if you want to have a way of life diet, and this is not my expression, but I love it. It's a way of life diet that sustains you and sustains a balanced weight permanently, then you want to stay away from restrictive diets. And another factor with restrictive diets is that ultimately, because they are short term and you haven't really learned to implement strategies that are permanent and sustainable, you'll end up back to where you started. And it's again a cycle, what we call a weight cycle that happens. The more you do these, the longer you have that weight cycle, the harder it will be for you to lose the weight. Okay, so thank you for being here. And I want to share with you a way to continue, an easy and free way to continue to get some information and some support around Ayurveda and the food habits of Ayurveda with my ebook that you can find at laurecotter.com/buy belly fat. It's a free ebook. You have the link with the video, and it's a really great ebook because it goes more into the food habits. It explains a little more about the philosophy around these food habits. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.